Welcome in, everybody. This is your self-care staffing for Thursday, April 16th, 2020. I'm Lou Pascal. I'm the school social worker in the Manchester City Schools in Manchester, Tennessee. And today's video may seem a little different, a little more solemn perhaps, maybe a little more conversational on my part because I have some updates for you. The school system where I work, and many in Tennessee, gave the official word yesterday that schools will remain closed for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. While I think many of us knew that this could happen and maybe even thought it was likely, it seems to be provoking a lot of emotions now that it's a definite thing. And some of those emotions could be numbness, sadness. Some people might be feeling a sense of relief, uncertainty. We talked about grief in another video, and even shock and disbelief. This is just unreal, y'all. I mean, some of the things that have occurred are just things that we never thought would happen. I personally am feeling a little bit of anxiety because I made a commitment to film a self-care video for every day of the school closures due to COVID-19, and I'm 100% still committed to doing that, and I'm thinking about how that will look to do 20 plus more of these videos. I feel a certain amount of excitement about it because this has been such a tremendous growth opportunity for me. I feel like I've learned a lot, and that's something I always enjoy. It has opened other doors, such as the invitation to write a blog post for the School Social Work Association of America. I will link that for you if you'd like to read it. So I'm thinking about possibilities for the rest of the videos that I'm going to make. And of course, I always welcome your suggestions of topics that you would like me to discuss. I'm going to bring my husband, Caleb, back to talk about nutrition. I know a moderate amount about nutrition, but he's a fitness trainer and he can tell you a whole lot more about that will benefit you than I can. So we're going to have another video with him. And I'm going to do several videos about my favorite self-care option, my favorite self-care activity, which is reading. And I have a lot to say about that. So I'm thinking about how that will look. So a mix of anxiety and excitement about that. So for all of my school people, my colleagues in my school system watching these videos, those of you in other Tennessee school systems, those of you in other school systems in other states that also will not be returning, parents, the seniors in high school this year, parents of seniors. I know for seniors and parents of seniors, this year looks nothing like what you thought was going to happen. School students, for those of you who are retiring from school systems this year, and those of you who are colleagues of retirees, I'm sure those of you that are retiring did not envision that the last 2.5 months of your last year working, that schools would be closed. So I know this is a tough day for a lot of you, and I hope it's comforting to know that others are thinking of you, that they know this is a very emotional time for you, and are sending good vibes and prayers and thoughts and keeping you in their hearts today. My encouragement to you would be to try to identify exactly what you're feeling, whether that's any of the emotions that we mentioned, sadness, anxiety, relief, any of those several emotions we discussed. I would encourage you to try to identify exactly what you're feeling, and then allow yourself to just feel that feeling or those feelings for a little while. Just kind of sit with it, and I'm not saying to necessarily wallow in it, but just accept that that's the feeling, accept that that is what you're feeling about this situation in this moment. And it could be you could feel conflicted. It could be that you're feeling a couple of different things. So self-care is the way that we cope with our lives, and self-care options are those methods that we use to disrupt the stress response. So I said in an earlier video that you will cope one way or another. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm going to cope with this stress or I'm not going to cope with it. You're going to cope with it one way or another. So I think the question is, are your coping mechanisms beneficial, or are they things that don't necessarily serve you well? So here's your self-care check-in question. What are you feeling? For me, I said I was feeling uncertainty and anxiety and also excitement. So that's what I'm feeling. And what is your tendency in terms of your default coping mechanism? So I'll answer that. For me, I seem to be in overdrive right now, trying to do all of the things. It's very comforting to me to get my house in order and to try to exercise some control when there are big things that I can't control. So that's my default. And I want you to give some thought today to whether your coping mechanism is beneficial or whether it does not serve you, or if your coping mechanism could kind of go either way. I think there are some things that, if we have them in the right proportion in our life, they can be beneficial. But if we overdo them, they do not serve us. So if you lean towards substances, then that can go either way. So I know in a lot of self-care materials, videos, whatever, sometimes people talk about, well, just have a glass of wine. And for some people, having a glass of wine is a valid self-care option. And then sometimes it turns into more and it gets out of hand. So you might find that glass of wine turning into 2 glasses of wine or a bottle of wine, and that may be too much. You can even think about this in terms of eating. I personally am a big, long-time fan of cheeseburger therapy. I am definitely prone to emotional eating and trying to eat my feelings. Most of the time I can keep that in control, but I know that I can easily get into a destructive pattern of self-medicating with food. So those are just a couple of examples for you. So for me today, in terms of how I'm coping, I have several things that I have been doing today. One is that I'm having my Coke Zero and a smile, as they said in the commercials years ago. I made a list of all the things that I need and want to do. And that, again, can be something that can go either way. On the one hand, it feels good to get it all out of my head. But then if I look at that list and obsess over that list, that can be overwhelming. And that can lead me to drive myself way too hard. I opted to make an easy dinner tonight. I did meditation this morning after I exercised. I am a knitter, so I'm working on my knitting project. This is a northeasterly blanket, so if you are interested in that, if you're a knitter, you can perhaps look at that as a project you might want to do. So knitting is a self-care coping mechanism for me. Reading, I mentioned already, I've done some reading today. I'm going to do some more later this evening. I have worked today. I have done work. I'm doing work. I've always liked to work. It's always been a coping mechanism for me, but I also know that I can lean toward workaholism, working all day and all night, just trying to exercise some control over something. Did some chores today, did some laundry, gonna do some more later this evening. I'm probably going to go outside after I finish this and check my crops. I'm gonna check my irises and see how many buds I have on my irises and see when they're going to bloom, and probably take a picture of that and put it on Facebook because I enjoy doing that. I am definitely leaning towards some perfectionism today. When I was preparing for this video, I rewrote a bunch of things over and over and over again that probably didn't need to be done. I probably could have let that go. And then the last one is I've told you guys about Rachel Ray, the television show host, she's doing videos on her Instagram right now called Stay Home, and she does different things. She tells you how to cook different things. She answers questions, and it's just a short, like 3, 4, 5 minute video, and I'm enjoying watching those. So I'm probably going to check in with Rachel Ray and probably see if she has a video this afternoon. So those are all some of my coping mechanisms today. So think about what some coping mechanisms would be for you, and think about if they're beneficial or if they maybe do not serve you, or if there's a happy medium somewhere there where you can engage in that particular practice and it can be in balance for you. So what I'm going to leave you with today, number one, is a reminder, since yesterday was a tough day and today's a tough day for a lot of us. Again, do not forget that there is support available through your Employee Assistance Program, your EAP. If you have one through your insurance at your job, your EAP program probably has some support for you. It could be some sort of webinar about stress management. An EAP program has a vast number of services. We've talked about it on an earlier video, but don't forget about that. You might want to look into that. They probably have telehealth or teletherapy options if you feel like you need a session to talk something out with a professional. That is probably an option through your EAP program right now. For my school people, some of you may want to have sort of a virtual meeting just to see each other's faces, get together with your colleagues to commiserate. You can do that through Google Hangouts. There's a lot of different ways that you can do a virtual meetup to get together with your people and just kind of, especially if you're an extrovert and you need to have some social time. So I want to suggest that to you too. So here's some quotes. Here's a quote for today. Sometimes you choose the crap because you don't have it in you to care for yourself. That's fine. It is totally valid. Do the best you can. So when we're talking about coping mechanisms, sometimes you choose some of the more non-beneficial coping mechanisms because it's really all you have in you to do in that moment. And if that's where you are today, that's okay. Just do the best you can. Do the best, most healthy, most beneficial thing you can do for yourself today. If you don't have it in you to do rock star, superstar, perfect self-care today, just do the best you can. So that's the quote, and that was Megan Devine. It's okay that you're not okay. We mentioned that book in an earlier video. Megan Devine, it's okay that you're not okay. The video that I want to leave with you, it's not funny. Again, some days are not funny days. And I have also mentioned this before too, and I don't want to, whatever the word is I'm looking for, harp on it or overdo it, but the meditation that I've been doing is on a YouTube channel called Heart Alchemy Yoga, and it's Michelle Goldstein. And I mentioned that she's doing a series of 30 days of meditations specifically geared toward the COVID-19 situation. And the one that I want to recommend to you today it's day 15, and it's called Trust Life. So I'll link that to this video. And then the song for today is Wilco and Fleet Foxes. So 2 musical groups, Wilco and Fleet Foxes. And the song is I Shall Be Released. And the one that I'm going to link to you is a video of a performance, and it's not the best recording, but it's a very lovely song, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you like it, you can kind of Google and try to see if there's other videos or tracks where it comes through more clearly. You can Google the lyrics to the song, any of those things. But anyway, it's called I Shall Be Released, and the lyrics that I'm thinking of are, COVID-19 appropriate, in my opinion, any day now, I shall be released. And my paraphrase is from quarantine. I shall be released from quarantine any day now. So that's what I have for you today. And again, I am thinking of you as we go through this really difficult time in a lot of ways. And I know a lot of you are having a lot of emotions, and I'm sending good vibes to you. I'm keeping you in my thoughts. I'm praying for you. And I just want you to know that, and hope that's comforting to you, that people are keeping you in their hearts and in their minds. And if all hearts and minds are clear, I hope all of you find some really beneficial self-care options for yourself today. And I will see you back here tomorrow.